Masechet Baba Batra, Daf Kof Samech Aleph. We're talking about a get mikushad, a tied document. This is a document that's made for extra security, where you write the text on the front, and you also have a section here that's covered over and sewn shut, so that it cannot be tampered with. In this type of document, we saw two opinions about where the witnesses sign. In a regular document, they sign at the bottom after the end of the text. But in a get mikushad, they sign on the back. So there was one opinion, Rav Huna, who says they sign at the spot of the ties. We discussed that opinion yesterday. But now we see Rav Yirmiyah disagrees, and he says that they sign in back of the text. Right now, we're assuming that he means in parallel. So let's say, like in this picture, you have text that's being written over here. If you would turn it over and look, hold it up to the light, and you would see the text on the other side, that's where the witnesses sign. They sign immediately on the back of the text. And that way, if the text goes over here is 5 lines, so they would sign. 5 witnesses would sign their names on the back of these 5 lines. And so that would ensure that that text is authentic, and then you couldn't just add something because there's no signature on the back of it. So that is the opinion of Rav Yirmiyah. Now we're going to ask some questions about this opinion. Well, Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba amar, achorei haketav u'cheneged haketav mibachus, v'lechosh dilma katev migavai mai deba'eh, u'machtim sahadei yetereh me'aberai, ve'amar Ana lerabot ba'adim hu da'abadi. According to Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, who says that witnesses sign on the back of the document parallel to the writing that's inside the document. So wherever the writing is on the inside, they sign on the back immediately behind that ink. According to that opinion, we have a problem, because maybe if somebody wanted to forge and add some lines, he could add on the inside whatever he wants. He could add on the last line or after the last line, he could add, and furthermore, you agree that you're going to pay me $1 million. He adds that in. And then on the back of it, he'll get someone to sign, or he'll sign some name on the back of that. And then it will look like it's authentic. And if you ask him, look, why are there so many witnesses? So he'll say, I wanted to increase the number of witnesses so it'll be more publicized. We saw that the minimum number of witnesses for a get mikushad is 3. But you can have more than that. He says, I wanted to have more witnesses. And so that's why there's more than 3 witnesses. And so you see, this is a problem, because then you could add anything on the bottom of the page and just sign it on the back, and it would look like it's authentic. Rav Chisda, who is the one who was asked this question, answers, Amar le, mi sabrat aidim kisidran chatime, aidim imata le ma'ala chatime. Did you think that when Rabbi Yirmiyah said that they sign on the back, you thought that they meant in order, meaning parallel to the text or horizontally? No, I didn't mean that. I meant perpendicular to the text, and they start on the bottom and go up. In other words, like it is in this picture, wherever the text ends, if it ends over here, so on the back of it, they would start their name there and go up. Over here, they're signing their name in English, but in Hebrew, it would be the other way around. They would start on the back of the text, where it says text over here, they would start their name here, and they would write Reuven ben Yaakov. They would write it there, and the next one would write next to it, kind of like it is on this. Actually, and even in the olden days, they can sign their names in Greek. That was permitted, and then that would be in this direction. So it doesn't matter which direction. The point is that since they're starting their signatures on at the end, that's what it means, keneged. Wherever the text ends, that's where they start their name. That way, if anybody went and added another line under the main text, so then you would not be able to just add a signature because the signature start on the line above that, and then it would be obvious that someone added a line that says, you owe me $1 million. And so we answer that question. But now we have a new question. But maybe in the original text of the document, there's something that's detrimental to the guy that's holding it. It says on the bottom line, you have to pay me $1 million, and he doesn't want to pay, and so he can cut off that line. Vegayiz le l'shita acharona, vegayiz le l'Reuben behadeh, umitkasher ben Yaakov ed, ditnan ben ish peloni ed kasher. See, if he just cuts off the line and that in the front says you owe me $1 million, it will also cut off half of the signature in the back. But that's okay, because let's say it says on the back Reuven ben Yaakov, and it starts in the bottom, it goes up. And so if you cut off the last line, then you're cutting off the name Reuven. And then you have the second to last line on the front that's left, and on the back it says Ben Yaakov Ed. We have a Mishnah, Masechet Gitin, that says that's sufficient. Even if you don't write your first name, you just write Ben Ish Ploni, right, the son of a certain person, and you write the word Ed, then that's valid. You don't have to write your name and your father's name. You could just write Ben Yaakov, and that's it. And so if you cut off the bottom line, and then you had just left, and all that was left was Ben Yaakov, then it would still be valid, and nobody would know that you cut off a line. So how come you don't worry about that? Dichtib Reuben ben bechad dara veYaakov ed ilaven. The answer is, when we write it on the back, we make sure not that for the last line, we don't just put Reuven on that line, and then the line above will have Ben Yaakov in the back of it. That will be a problem. Instead, we write Reuven ben in the back of one line, and then the back of the second to last line, we write Yaakov. That way, if you cut it off, it will just say Yaakov, because you're cutting off Reuven ben. And so then you'll only leave Yaakov Ed, and that is not sufficient. Okay, so now we ask a follow-up question. But that's also a problem, because even if you cut off Reuven ben and you have just Yaakov Ed there, there's a Mishnah Gitin that says Ish Peloni Ed. That's sufficient. The word, as long as you put the word ayed there, you could just have one name. You see, if you don't put the word ayed, then you need to have a full name, Reuven ben Yaakov. So if you have Reuven ben Yaakov without the word ayed, witness, that's okay. But without the word ayed, if you have the word ayed there, then all you need is one name, Yaakov ayed, and that would be kosher. And so then here's what we could do: we could write. We could cut off someone could cut off the bottom line that is bad for him, he doesn't like, and it would cut off Reuben ben, but you'd have left over Yaakov Ayed, and that's sufficient, and that would be kosher, and that would be a way to forge it. So how can you do this? And the answer is the lakitib Ayed. You know what? Don't write witness. And so that would mean on a get mikushar like that, get mikushar, the signatories should sign Reuben ben Yaakov, and they should leave out Ayed, and that way, if anybody cuts off Reuben ben, if it just says Yaakov, then that would not be kosher. So if anybody cut off a line, then we would know, because it would not be a kosher document. That is one answer. We have another answer. We don't want to leave out ayed. This is a standard procedure. And even now in all of our ketubot, it says, right, to put the name of the witnesses, and it says ayed afterwards. So another answer that includes the word ayed, ibayet ema leolam dechatab ayed deyadinan ba deha chatimot yada lav deyakob hu. We're talking about a case where he did write the word ayed, but we know that this signature does not belong to any Yaakov that we know. Right? They're living in a town. They know all the people in the town. And this there's a few people named Yaakov in the town, but we recognize the signatures of the Yaakovs in the town. And so if you cut off Reuben ben, right, and so it's not that guy, whoever Reuben ben Yaakov is, right? If you cut off that line and leave just Yaakov, we'll look at it and says, which Yaakov is this, right? Is it Yaakov A, Yaakov B? No, it's none of the Yaakovs that we know. They don't sign their names like this, and so we would know. So even if you have Ayed, and Yaakov Ayed technically is would be a valid signature. We're talking about a case where we know that there's nobody named Yaakov that signs like that. V'dilma b'shmei de'avu chatam. So hold on. Maybe it is in fact Reuben ben Yaakov, and he's signing with the name of his father. It could be he doesn't want to sign his own name, and he feels very close to his father. He's signing the name of his father instead of his first name. Wouldn't that be valid? And the answer is, people don't do that. People don't forget their own name and only write the name of their father. That's just something that is not done. V'dilma simana be'almahu deshavyeh, deha Rav Sayer Kavra, Rabbi Chanina Sayer Haruta, Rav Chisda Samech, Rav Hoshaya Ayin, Rava bar Rav Huna Machota. Wait, so maybe a person is using his father's name as a symbol. We know that many people, instead of writing their name, they would use a symbol that everybody knew this was the way that they signed their name. Rav, for example, drew a fish. And so if you saw a fish, you know this is Rav's signature. Instead of a signature, he made a picture, and that was a symbol for his name. Rabbi Chanina drew a palm branch. Rav Chisda just drew a samech, just a letter samech. Even today, some people, they don't write their whole name as a signature. They just do like one squiggle or the first letter. So Rav Chisda wrote a samech because he has a samech in his name. Rav Hoshaya wrote an ayin because he has an ayin in his name. Rava bar Rav Huna, he drew a mast of a ship. That was his sign. And so maybe someone is Reuven ben Yaakov, and he's not writing Yaakov as his father's name. He's writing Yaakov as a symbol. That's what he chose as a symbol for his name. And the answer is no. Nobody would do that. Nobody would be so insolent to use his father's name as his own distinguishing mark. It would not be respectful to use your father's name in that way, and therefore we don't have to worry about that. And so this is a good second answer to the question. Mor Zutra Amar, Lama lach kulehai. Mor Zutra says, why do you have to go through all this? I have a simpler answer for you. Kol mekusha she'en aidim kalin b'shita achat pasul. There's a rule that when you have a tied get and the witnesses don't all end or actually begin on the same line, that is not a valid get, not a valid document. In other words, let's say you have a document like this that's 5 lines. So when they sign, they should all start on the back at the bottom line and then sign upwards and then go up. So if you would add a line and add a witness, then that witness would be signing lower down. He's starting his signature on a line lower than all the other signatures. So if you see that, hey, there's something wrong here. All the witnesses should sign starting on the back of the same line, and therefore there would be no way to add another line, because if you added another line, and even if you added a few more witnesses to it, it would not help, because we would see that there are at least 3 witnesses that signed on an upper line, and so we would know that there was a line that was added. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'amen.